Okay. I'll turn it over to you, Rosemary.
Okay, hold on. Let me just do one thing. Okay, I would like to bring this meeting to order of the Santa Rosa Valley Municipal Advisory Council.
I can do a roll call.
Okay, do a roll call.
Amy Elliott,
Here.
Mark Burley,
Here.
Michael Adams,
Here.
Vice Chair Kevin Cannon,
Here.
and Chair Rosemary Allison.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. What I'd like to do is ask, who do we have here? Okay, how about
You want to do the pledge first and then?
right, I'm looking for a resident.
Oh, okay. Well,
Earl, I think you're a resident. How about you? Would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
you can unmute yourself. Just press the unmute. Let's see, where is it? Or I'll ask you to unmute. I've asked you to unmute, Mr. Arnold. There we go.
Are we ready?
We're ready.
Pledge allegiance to the flag.
To the flag of the United
United
States
States of America.
of America
And
and to the republic
for which it
for
stands,
Which it stands,
one
one
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice
for all.
for all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Arnold.
Oh, sure.
All right, is Heather is back. What I would like to do is take the meeting out of order because we do have an officer who's with us who is up in Sacramento and taking time away from her training to be here. So let's make that as quickly as possible. So could we start with the public safety reports with you, Heather?
There we go. Now I'm off mute. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Lieutenant Hoagland with the Conejo Scales. I hope everybody's healthy and staying cool. It's a lot cooler up here in Sacramento right now. It was like 116 last week, so I'm very thankful that some cooler weather came this way. Since our last meeting, the biggest news that I have is that our scale on the northbound side is functional. We started having trucks rolling over it on July 25th, and we have found quite a few overweight vehicles. I think they are now just getting used to the fact that we can weigh them again. So they were fudging their weight a little bit while we were down, but now we have the ability to pull them out of service and get them back down to the required weight limits before they can move on down that hill. So I'm very happy about that. With respect to the construction project that I've been talking about, I've been given a date of September 26th that they will be starting on the southbound side. Again, there's been delays because they originally told me August, but I think this one should be pretty close. So I have regular communication with the Caltrans engineer, and I'm hopeful that we will start at the end of September so that we'll be done with that side. I'm guessing now it'll be sometime in November, and then that will push northbound to end of the year. And I'm expecting maybe more like January before we start on the northbound side. So things are progressing. We're doing well. We're hopefully keeping you safer now than you have been for the last year or so with that scale being down. So, but that's all I have right now. I just wanted to pop in and let you know where we're at and say hi to everybody.
Okay, now would you like to introduce your associate who is at the office, who is the new, he's actually at your desk, I believe.
Oh, that's Sheriff's Office.
Right. But it says her name, so I'm guessing, where did it go? Wasn't there one there?
Oh, yeah, Commander Hoagland is with the CHP.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you are. No, okay, that's you there. Would you like to go next?
So
Commander,
we
I
also,
see
Are you
Jeremy
meeting
Kay and
me?
I'm seeing the one who says Heather Sanders on it. So you're at Heather's,
That's
there
me.
you are.
Yeah.
That's
sorry.
you.
I guess I'm logged in my wife's Zoom account. I apologize. My name's Dustin. I'm a senior deputy of the sheriff's office. I work out of the Moore Park Patrol Station, and I've been around the sheriff's office for about 10 years now. So,
Perfect. Do you have anything to report to us this evening?
I don't this evening. I think Senior Deputy Purnell may have some matters on the Hill Canyon Park, but I
Okay.
don't have anything for you guys.
Okay, great. Well, great to meet you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thank you.
All right. Becky, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So yeah, Dustin is the new county beat coordinator. So he'll be popping in on these meetings and he'll be your primary contact if you have anything. But as always, you can get a hold of me if you have anything. So like Dustin was saying, we're having the continuing problem with vehicle burglaries at Hill Canyon, at the Santa Rosa Park, Hill Canyon. That's been a problem for several months now. We've posted signs asking that residents take all valuables out of their cars and lock their cars. We still have some people that aren't cooperating with that, and unfortunately, the burglaries are continuing. We've also put up a couple of cameras, so we're hoping that's going to help. Another issue going on in Santa Rosa Valley, we've had some agricultural thefts. That's been going on countywide for quite some time, and it just now started hitting Santa Rosa Valley. So some of the fields right off of Santa Rosa have had some of their equipment stolen. And then one other thing is continuing to have some mail theft, not as much as there was several months ago, but it's starting to pop back up again. So we ask that residents bring their mail in ideally as soon as it's delivered, but definitely before they go to bed at night, bring in packages, mail, make sure everything's out of your car, lock your cars, lock your house, all that good stuff. And that's it.
I have a question to follow up on the last meeting. In Hidden Meadows, we had a package theft that was recorded on video, and then there was also a video of the person arriving in Hidden Meadows with the license plate. And I believe all this information was given to the Sheriff's Department right after the last meeting. And I wondered if you were aware of that situation and what has been followed up on that.
I usually only handle city things, so I will have to talk to the county detectives and I can find out what street did this happen on.
Andalusia.
Okay, I'll find out. And do you know what date it was?
I would have to look back on it.
I think I saw the notes in the last notes for the last meeting you guys had, and I'll make sure that the detectives at the station are following up on that.
Thank
Right.
you, Dustin.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so
Rosa.
much.
we also have CHP Lieutenant Key.
Right, Lieutenant Key. How about you next?
That sounds like a positive to me.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, so it's been relatively light with crashes in the area, with only one to report on Santa Rosa Road since the last meeting, which is a good thing. And it was actually a non-injury crash involving a turning movement by the driver. So it went into an object, which is always a good thing rather than another vehicle. We continue to address traffic complaints in the area. We've been successful with mitigating a loud exhaust complaint, which took a lot of work to finally curtail that issue. But actually, Becky from the Sheriff's Department helped me out with some of that complaint, that it actually ended up being a residential complaint. So I appreciate her help on that. Continue to get complaints of illegal passing through the area using the center median, which is supposed to be a two-way left turn lane, and you know, turns off of Moore Park Road onto Santa Rosa. And we've been, I actually was able to get somebody last week where I cited them for making a right turn on that traffic light there at Santa Rosa, which is always a good thing. We keep our eyes open. Other than that, it's been relatively quiet and nothing really negative to report. I will leave off with just one piece of advice to all the folks at the meeting tonight that we've been experiencing over the last month or so. It seems like we've been having an influx of false titles and people purchasing vehicles through, you know, like the newspaper or Craigslist. And we've had 3 within the last month where we've got victims that have paid upwards to $40,000 for a vehicle only to find out that it was stolen. And, you know, the Highway Patrol, we are part of the we have a representative of the Auto Theft Task Force there in Ventura County. And auto theft is always an issue, and it just seems like that's something that's been increasing, is sales of vehicles through you know, social media and online and private owners has resulted in them being victims of stolen vehicles. So we've had 3 of them within the last month. The one for 40,000, one other person purchased a vehicle for 30,000, and then another one purchased a vehicle for about 11,000, which was a Honda Civic. So those vehicles, yeah, those vehicles, they had false or fraudulent titles. One vehicle in particular, the suspect made an actual false license plate along with all the stickers that go onto that plate. It actually looked pretty legit from, you know, if you're just driving by the vehicle, you would have never picked up on it that it was a false plate and false tabs on it. So yeah, that continues to be an issue, and just be careful. And if you need assistance, just call law enforcement. We can always help you to ensure that the vehicle at least is not stolen. That way it saves you the money and anguish of losing out on all that. So
To find out that it's not stolen, would you call your department with the VIN number? I mean, how would you check it?
well, yeah, you know, provide information. Obviously, if we put eyes on the vehicle is probably the best route, because just giving us a VIN number, it's going to come back as clear in the system, because what they do is they VIN switch vehicles where they put a VIN that's going to be, you know, it's going to be clear, and it's to replace the stolen VIN that they have. So I think in general, just be careful, but if you call any law enforcement, we should be able to help you out, you know, and making sure that it's not stolen. Just the more you do on your own, the more likely it is that you're going to be a victim of having a vehicle that's stolen and then it taken from you and you're out the money.
That would be awful.
Yeah,
That would be awful.
I agree.
Okay. Is there anything printed about this? I'd like to distribute it.
Distribute the fact that the stolen vehicles.
Well, just that there's been a slew of them. I didn't see this on the sheriff's plotter that came, you know, I watched the bulletins.
Yeah, this, you know, this is more of a office specific. You know, the Highway Patrol, we respond to the DMV offices whenever there's a what they call a DOJ stop. What that means is there's something wrong, basically, and they call the Highway Patrol to come and examine the documents and the vehicle that's actually being registered, and then we determine that the vehicle's stolen. So there's no real you know, broadcast or briefing of it, just my knowledge of what's happening out of our office. And sometimes
Did the perpetrators ever is there ever a clue about the perpetrators who do this? I mean, I would guess that they don't meet people at their homes.
No, they usually meet off-site somewhere at a location that the suspect will create for the victim. And, you know, it's going to look pretty legit. Everything's going to look in order. And even one victim took the suspect into the bank, and he thought he was doing everything correct, and they withdrew the money. And you know, he found out that the vehicle was stolen later, and they're completely out that money. There's no getting it back. You don't keep the vehicle, you lose the vehicle. And in many cases, the suspect is using a false identity as well. So for us to track them and use the number that was used by, you know, the victim called that suspect, that number is no longer in existence, and it's just really tough to find the suspect later on. So for us to get 3 within the last month, it's, you know, it's picking
It's
up.
great
2
work.
two,
great
2 were
work.
in one day. 2 of
Wow.
them at the same time were registering vehicles. They were both victims, and they had both been stolen, sold stolen vehicles that were, you know, they're clear to a VIN switch. So they're a new VIN's put on the vehicle that's clear. So.
Okay. The other thing is, it's been noted that there's been a lot of truck traffic again on Santa Rosa Road. So I don't know who here would be checking on that, but I don't know if now they're avoiding those truck scales to go down Santa Rosa Road, but we do seem to have increased truck traffic.
Yeah, we should be able to, we've got a new MRE officer that replaced our old one. And we're gonna have her go into the area, and maybe Lieutenant Hoagland, and she can maybe provide some assistance in the meantime, because we're waiting for the new MRE to get trained. But as soon as she is, we'll send her over there and do some enforcement.
Okay, well, we would appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, does that conclude? And, oh, Michael,
I did have a question. When does the buyer find out that the vehicle is stolen? Does that happen when they go to the DMV?
So yes, at whatever site that the suspect determines that they're gonna do the deal and make the arrangements and sign over the paperwork, so to speak, the victim will then take that paperwork to the DMV to register in their name. In the process of doing the paperwork, the DMV then catches that the VIN number and paperwork are not matching. And the 2 cases that we had recently is that the title is a fraudulent title, and DMV is obviously trained to detect when that they receive a false or fraudulent document. Then they call the highway patrol after that without telling the suspect, you know, what's going on. And then once we arrive on scene at the DMV, we then make contact with that, who most of the time is a victim. You know, they go in there and they're in possession of fraudulent paperwork and a stolen vehicle, but they end up being a victim is what it is when they purchase that vehicle. And then that's how the process takes place.
would it be smarter for them to say that they want to buy and give them the money at the DMV?
It would be helpful. I mean, if you can, the suspect is probably going to not sell the vehicle. If things start going sideways and too many questions are asked, or the new purchaser requests them to go to the DMV, they're probably going to try to get out of that sale so that they don't get you know, arrested, is what would happen if they were there. So they're getting a little bit more innovative. And I mean, this has always existed, but it seems to be really picking up lately for whatever reason.
Yeah, by the way, I did see, finally, this is the first time I've seen it, somebody passing across the double yellow line on Santa Rosa Road.
I
So-
see it daily.
Do you really?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I suppose what I should have been doing is calling you guys, calling the CHP, you know, when I see it, in case you happen to be in the area then.
Yeah, you know, and you can always forward your information to Venice and she can send it to me. But, you know, the hours that you're seeing the violations, you know, any information that we can get will be helpful for us to send officers in that direction. I mean, obviously, when they see a marked unit, it changes the dynamics of everything. They usually will follow the rules of the road, and they're going to be more compliant. So, you know, I'm actually, believe it or not, to and from my house in Camarillo. That's when I pick up on them, because I'm in my unmarked unit and I'm concealed. So it's a little easier for me to get them. But we've had our motors over there in that area enforcing speed and being around the schools. And for them, it's even difficult to make certain turning movements in that area too. It can be difficult, and then people see them, and it just they end up following the rules of the road. So,
You know, what I've noticed is because I live on Barbara Drive. So I live pretty close to the entrance to Hill Canyon. And there's a lot of it happening right at that area. So like, for instance, if you turn right into going westbound, turn right into Barbara Drive, there's kind of it's wherever there's extra space. So it's usually from Hill Canyon to right before, and I notice it because I live on Barbara.
yeah.
Yeah, but especially with that widening of the road by Hill Canyon.
I know people pass
Yeah.
on the right all the time there that kind of scare you.
Yeah, actually, where Amy, that spot that she just talked about, that's the exact location where I just cited somebody for that violation. So sounds like we got the right area to watch on. So we'll continue to monitor that area and send officers whenever possible. I mean, obviously, we want to increase the safety through that stretch of road and do whatever we can.
I put my email in the chat. So if anyone does want to mention anything, want me to forward anything to Lieutenant Key, I'm happy to do so. Thank
Okay,
you.
well, thank you so much from our public safety officers. We do so appreciate you being here this evening. I went ahead and pulled us out of order, so let's go back to the order, which is the next item of business is the agenda review. Again, have a pleasant evening, you guys.
Okay,
Thank
take
you.
care.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going back to the agenda review. Does any of our council people have any changes to the agenda other than the one I did?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right, how about approval of minutes from July 21? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll second.
Okay,
I'll do a
Denise, do you
roll.
want to do a roll?
Sure. Amy Elliott,
Here,
Mark Burley,
Aye.
Michael Adams,
Aye.
Vice Chair Cannon,
Aye.
and Chair Ellison.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, so now why don't we go to the comments of Ventura County Supervisor Linda Parks?
Hi, are you able to hear me well enough?
We can
Yes.
hear you.
Yes.
Oh, great. Well, a few
Oh,
wanted to mention, we want to give a big thank you to our roadside cleanup crew. They are out there, the Ventura County Probation Agency's work release crew. They completed a big thank you to Probation Robert Barna and Sarah Tobias and
Linda,
Public
you're
Work
going in and
Agencies,
out.
Rudy Munoz.
Linda,
Okay,
your
let
voice
me go. Okay, let me go after Coulter with GSA Parks, okay?
Okay, I'm sorry, your voice is going in and out. Okay, so now we're going into a work session with County Parks Department on the Santa Rosa Valley Regional Park.
All right, good evening, everyone. Am I coming through clear?
You're coming in
absolutely.
loud and clear.
Great, it is good to see everyone. I'll give a quick overall Parks Department update really quick, and then talk a little bit about how that influences what we're doing at Santa Rosa Valley Park. So we're a couple years past our COVID closures, and we've returned kind of with a vengeance, if that's a thing. So park usage is up about 34% since pre-pandemic numbers. That's an absolute number for camping use nights, and our day use trends are similar in most parks. So we're seeing 111 over almost 112,000 use nights this last fiscal year. 134,000 is kind of where saturation is. So we're people are enjoying getting out. So that has us putting in for grants, looking to expand if we can in the right areas that make sense. And a quick overview, we have 15 regional parks, 466 campsites, operate 3 golf courses and 6 local parks. One of the new local parks is at Lewis Road. We have 75% construction drawings now for what'll start as a healing garden and become a public park after that. So that's a neat park that's going to see construction starting this winter. Then other projects that are worth noting, we have several $1 million for a grant to do a community center and park in Island Acres. Same at Satakoy. And then a little bit of a good CAL FIRE grant to replace trees and redo landscaping at Soul Park. And then Oak Park is getting 1.7 million for an expansion project. So not to go too much on there, but just to give a little explanation of activity and what's going on in parks. So that Santa Rosa Park is, as far as reservations, it's continuing at its kind of decade-long trend of less than a dozen bookings for the arena horse facility. So we're looking for ways to activate that more, or asking ourselves, are we administering that the right way? Because of how little it is used. And then, as this group heard, I believe 2 meetings ago, from Karen Hall and Earl Arnold, who have approached the Parks Department for the possibility of putting in a casting pond. So it's an amenity that's a little bit new to me, not fishing new to me, but as a parks amenity. So we're working with Pasadena. City of Pasadena has a park. They've had a casting pond since 1940. So I have their operations agreement and some construction drawings that are helping us understand that amenity better. And so it's Karen and Earl are with the Sespe Fly Fishers, and they're proposing to operate it in a similar manner as the city, where the fly fishing group does a lot of the maintenance. You have to drain the ponds 4 times a year, clean them to avoid the algae buildup and such. And we're early enough on this, it just felt like a good time to check in and just let folks, there's no imminent projects that are happening tomorrow or anything, so we're not hitting you up late. We just wanted to connect and let folks know where we're going. Other important news for Santa Rosa, we are continuing the fee offset with partnership with City of Thousand Oaks. So we're not adding, we're not switching back to day use fees or anything. So that program that's kind of indefinite from our perspective. So with that, I'm glad to share a drawing, if that works for folks, to something to look at. So folks will see some flagging in the ground if you go out to the park, and or at least will soon, where the Sespe team is flagging out a couple. We'll probably look at more than one proposed location. Is the drawing coming through yet?
Yes.
Yep.
So this shape's appealing because the soft corners has kind of a more natural feel. We are going to look at a more rectangular version as well because of space efficiency, and some of those trees are getting fairly mature down there, so we don't want to lose too many trees. And then as we look at the fate of the horse arena, maybe that stays, but maybe that gets down. It's just to kind of put it out there. It's big for like your backyard horse arena. It's very small for like a fairgrounds rodeo big event. So we don't have a draw for like the big events. And I don't know that that's wanted or something we certainly haven't had any requests or pressure or suggestions to do anything of that nature. But if the current user trend of the last decade continues, that's a pretty good vote for us downsizing for sure the parking and maybe the arena size a little bit, or maybe not, but that would create room outside of the floodway for the pond that's in open and wouldn't impact trees. So we're thinking of things. That's pretty much how we're thinking of it at this point, and just glad to hear any feedback or comments.
I have a question if I could, and this might have been mentioned when this was first spoken about. Have they done the numbers on the average number of people that are I don't want this to sound bad, but like fly for like, I didn't realize, like, is there a big group of people that want to do casting at a, you know, like, what is the average intake of people that they think would, visitors that would come?
That is an excellent question, because obviously the build it and they will come is a risk that we want to be measured with. As I'm learning about this amenity, I'm doing a tour with City of Pasadena in a couple of weeks. Theirs is fairly popular. They also have it in an urban park that kind of has the passersby that might be, oh, hey, I kind of want to do that, where this is a bit more remote. You're going to drive there more purposefully for your outing there. Is my that's how I engage the park. I tend to enter more from the Lindmere side, just from where I live, but I'm a huge fan of the area and the park personally. But it is, you know, I do know, and as far as the casting competitions, what I'm discovering is, you know, this would be the fly fishing version. There's also one for pole casting, rod and reel casting, and you know, they cast, the records are like a 1/4 mile long in the casts. So it is a niche sport that we're really in the discovery of learning. Karen or Earl, do you want to chime in on what you might think for use?
Can I ask one more question while we're there? Could
Mhm.
there possibly be another use for that body of water?
I mean, habitat comes to mind. It's by the creek. I haven't consulted with a wildlife biologist yet. I was going to reach out to some partners at NPS and just kind of feel them out for what they thought it might be. I mean, it put in the right place in the park, I think it could have a positive feel. You know, it can be hot. I mean, you all live there and know.
This sounds really crazy. Just take it for what it is. But I don't know if anybody, one of the huge attractions when we would go to parks would be a body of water such as what you're speaking, and you would do, kids would go and do little boat races, right? With the little electronic boats, right?
Absolutely.
Just saying.
Exactly. You could certainly do that. I do know that in Pasadena, the Boy Scouts teach canoeing in the Pasadena pond, as well as utilizing it for fly fishing lessons. So it's not something that we expect it to be solely fly fishing only. It's a multiple use. It has a lot of it adds a lot of value, I think, to the park.
Yeah, I think if you could have extra events and things to do, then it would.
Yeah. I
For
honestly think
instance,
it's
a Rotary might have a ducky derby there, because you could, you know, put the ducks on and do a fundraiser. There are actually many uses, and getting boys and girls clubs involved. And then there is a fly fishing club in pretty much every city in Ventura County. I mean, there's Conejo, which covers the Thousand Oaks area, and Camarillo, and then there's Sespe Fly Fishers, and then up in Santa Barbara, they don't have a pond either. They would use it. And these clubs, our club is over 100 people. So each club, the Southwest Council covers Southern California, and there are 23 clubs in that in our region, and a good 5 or 6 of them would use our pond because they wouldn't have to drive down to Pasadena. So just among fly fishers, there's a lot, but then there are regular fishermen who could use it for casting their rods or teaching. There are school programs like Trout in the Classroom. They could meet up there and use it for their classes. And then lots of other clubs could use it for their activities as well. So I see a lot of use.
I can tell you that my husband would use it. I know every time he's going on a fishing trip with my grandchildren or with my kids, they're out casting on our driveway in the back. You know, so I can imagine how excited they would be to be able to go to a casting pond.
Yeah, the Sespe Fly Fishers has a regular monthly casting clinic that we hold at a park in Ventura that typically attracts at least 20 people. And I can imagine that if it were on a pond with real water, that we could probably do it 4 times a month instead of just once. So I'd expect to see as many as 100 people a month.
Just on average, without a special event. And then that would just be from fly fishers. I think there could be more from other programs and other sports that could use the pond.
I have a couple of questions and or comments. First of all, could you remind me what the financing for this is? Is this going to be done by the Sespe Fly Fishers?
Yes, we are going to raise the money for the pond. We are willing to pay for it as long as we have some kind of a memorandum of understanding with the county that it's for, our use among others. And we will put it in and we'll help maintain it, including planting some extra native trees if you want them.
Yeah, I actually recall that you said that last time, so I just wanted to check. And then I think this discussion came up last time, but is more important now, which is, where is the water coming from for this pond?
We are hoping that it will come from the allocation that Santa Rosa Valley has from Rosa. It's reclaimed water already, and there seems to be enough allocation for it to use the water that they have the allocation for.
Have you had a conversation with Rosa Water District?
I don't know if Coulter, I think Coulter has been in touch with some of those people, but I don't know the results. But generally, I have heard that nobody has objected yet. So that's as far as I know. Maybe Coulter can tell more.
Coulter, can you tell us about that?
I haven't looked, I haven't worked with the water providers yet, nor with Watershed for the discharge permitting, because their first question is going to be right into how much and how often, and that's where I'm at the learning phase of working with Pasadena and seeing where they've worked out kinks. There's no chlorine allowed in their not that copying and pasting how they're doing is going to work exactly, but we don't have progress on those fronts until we've kind of figured out the siting.
I mean, actually, my question, you're discussing the discharge 4 times a year. I was actually my first question was where it's coming. We're thinking it's coming from the recycled agricultural water line from Rosa. Is that correct?
I only have the potable water that we use at the park. I don't have a Rosa water service to use.
So this
I misunderstood.
Seems to be a major discussion and something that needs to be sorted out.
I think we definitely need to find out where the water is coming from and who's supplying it.
The idea of using potable water under current water conditions seems slightly odd to me.
Kevin?
Yeah, I want to back up a little. Coulter, I don't know if you're familiar with the previous times we've talked about the park, but we were sort of promised a sort of more comprehensive survey. I think there were surveys of ideas, different ideas of how to increase the usage of the park, and a lot of different things were thrown out as possibilities. One of them camping, one of them whatever. And so at the last meeting when this was discussed, the MAC did go down on record of like, yeah, we wouldn't stand in the way of it, but at the same time we were thinking you guys would be coming back with this long promised 5-year plan, if you will. And I guess we're just sort of ignoring that thought of, because my concern is if we don't really get a wider perspective from the residents, I'm certain that the park would be used more if we get the pond in there. But the residents in Santa Rosa Valley that are closest to the park, that might preclude them from being able to do things that they would have hoped to do at the park, because they were surveyed at one point as to what kind of things they would like to see there. And so that's sort of being pushed aside, it seems like. So are you familiar with that fact? We were supposed to get a 5-year plan, and that's what you guys were supposed to come back with?
To some extent, I'm aware of Ron's presentation. I'm aware of camping being an amenity. A 5-year plan, just to put it in perspective. So we have a lot of intense design pressure and projects going on in the department, we don't have, it's two of us who work on that stuff. So to, a 5-year plan and a comprehensive master plan for the park is something I certainly, that's my MO as an engineer, how I prefer to work, but that's not realistic for us to have. And the use trend at this time. I mean, I'm working through it, inheriting a $23.5 million deferred maintenance backlog. We have liabilities at some of our parks that we don't have here that we have to deal with in a higher priority. But I'm glad to approach it comprehensively. It's only a 50-acre park, and you can get things wrong if you don't lay things out comprehensively. So I'm glad to show something more comprehensive. I would just have to say, honestly, that's not something that fits in this year's work plan with what we're facing with the ARPA projects and the grants.
Okay, I appreciate that. I understand where we're at now. It's a good thing that we're looking at the monies that would go into this aren't coming from taxpayer dollars. They're coming from this club fundraising and all that. So maybe it's a win-win, but I just, once we put construction on the ground, it's like, that's it. We can't have agility dog events there anymore because there's no room for that, or, other things that we were thinking. I'm certain that moving the arena or making it smaller is probably not going to be an option for what's desired by residents here.
I'm gonna second that. I think that, Coulter, you should just kill that idea now.
Okay, I'm done. But there's the area that's north of the arena that, why wouldn't we put it in a
There's plenty of room
rectangle?
in this park, it seems like. I cannot imagine why this could not be designed so that we can leave the arena the way it is. And I'm telling you, I feel like there will be a huge outcry from the local community if you even suggest that again.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I will address that actually, because it's been used 9 times maximum per year. So
I understand.
that trend has to change for the amenity to stay in perpetuity. So there's
Maybe we
nothing
should make
urgent
it.
happening here. We're not in a hurry.
Right.
But that has to be reinvested in. It didn't just keep itself up. So as its life cycle plays on, and I'm the one who has to speak to why would be funding a project to repair or do whatever to it with that kind of use trend. So
Is there not room to put this pond in without affecting the horse arena?
Okay, time out.
There seems to be plenty of room.
There's no relationship at all between the area that we've outlined for the pond and the arena. As a matter of fact, all of the picnic area that's behind the arena and all of those trees would be completely undisturbed. We would not affect that part of the park at all. What we're looking at is a fairly large area that has a few pepper trees in it that looks like they were cut down once and grew back from the rootstock. Possibly, I think Tom and I went out there today and we looked at about a dozen trees that would be removed from in the pond, but nothing to do with the arena, nothing to do with
Okay,
the parking.
Where's the picture of this with the pond on it? I thought, can we see that picture where the pond would be?
Coulter has the map that he
yeah,
shared
Coulter,
earlier.
can you put it back up?
here we go.
Because I don't know why the arena is coming up to be, oh, okay, because we can't see it.
The arena there is in
That's the arena and that's the
south of the
pond.
pond, yeah.
So
Okay,
let me, so this is the Sespe Fly Fisher's proposed location. It's not something I've looked at in enough depth to say or the Parks Department's proposing. I'm just sharing the drawings that we've received as a suggested point.
okay, but realize, Coulter, this park to us is the Santa Rosa Equestrian Park. So their drawings don't involve, the arena. And I would like to keep it away from the arenas and our horse facilities. That was the whole reason for the park.
And it is divided from the horse facilities by
Right.
the
Well-
picnic tables and trees and bathroom. They're all
And I
between
understand
that.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
I think it was Coulter's, suggestion. So I just think that Coulter for Santa Rosa Valley to feel comfortable with this, we'd have to know that this is not going to endanger our existing horse facilities.
Got it. No, that's good feedback. As you'd imagine, someone new, I'm just seeing the use trend, right? And
But also
it's
factor in,
it's used 9 times a year and half of that's internal use from the county. So is there any suggestions you have for the users and the locals? What would improve it to improve the use of it? Or, what's not working about it is kind of what.
Well, I have a question, and this is ignorance on my part, but how is it advertised?
On the county webpage, like any day use or facility rental.
But is there any like proactive outreach to, and I understand you got a lot of stuff on your plate, but
Not, we've
is
kind of
that
layered,
generally the county's job, or?
that would be ours, yes. Yep.
How does it compare to Soul Park is your other equestrian park, is that correct?
It similar to slightly more.
How big is the arena there?
It's a little smaller at Soul Park.
Okay.
But I think there are bleachers at Soul Park,
There are.
which is nice.
We have some bleachers, but not very many.
we've also had community events there in past years that drew people. And we had a half a dozen ideas of how to try to get more. I don't know how you track individuals coming to, like, say, play Frisbee golf, or riders that come in and just use the arena without paying or whatever. I mean, as far as usage, I'm not sure how the county tracks other than the fees you want. But that was the idea of the survey, was what could we do to increase fees and usage? And I assume that this, you're looking at this pond, is there going to be having paid events there that are the monies are going to go to the county in that sense?
There would be occasional paid events, not every month, but I would say a few times a year. I think the various clubs would want to. We're having our annual barbecue there, for instance, next a couple weeks from now, and so that our members can all see what we're thinking and hoping.
Okay, so they would just come and use it without an organized event, and that's how we get more people there. But again, that doesn't put money in the county coffers for the Parks Department, it sounds like.
No, for fees, I think it would have to be a tournament. And that's why we wanted to have a tournament-sized pond. So you get special casting people either teaching or doing a clinic, or, you have a major day of somebody well-known coming, like Meredith McRae, for instance. She was 12 when she won the world championship. She lives up in I think she's in Oregon now. But anyway, she does go around, and, if you get a few key people and have a tournament, then there's a good turnout for things like that. I know Pasadena does them from time to time, maybe a few times a year.
But
And that could be paid.
all the club meetings wouldn't, clubs would use it for free, basically, right?
Generally, that's the idea, because they're doing clinic, like if we do casting clinics, we're doing it for the public. We invite the public in to teach them casting, and so it's a service.
Okay, it's a good clarification point, because Coulter is saying we need to do events out there that make money. And we're saying, well, we have a horse facility that doesn't make money. And so now we're saying, well, let's put a pond in that won't bring in money. That's kind of interesting.
Well, it can bring in some money. It just depends
so,
on
so can
how
our horse
often.
events.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had horse events that bring in money. Like he said, we have up to 12 a year. Where you're saying maybe you're going to do 2 a year.
Or 4, 2 to 4. It depends on what the other clubs want to do. If they want to host a special, event.
But I think the club is paying for the pond, so I don't need to see that, the county needs to be reimbursed in this situation because the club is putting in the pond, right?
I think you're missing the point, if I may, Michael.
Sure.
The issue with the parks in Ventura County is that they are not supported by the county. They're only supported by the income that they make. So there is no money that goes towards the parks. And as a result, the Parks Department has a very difficult time figuring out how to make money out of these parks. And there is a lot of upkeep and cost. So that's the issue that we have been dealing with in our park and in all the parks around the county. So if you go to Thousand Oaks, the city is putting in all sorts of money towards the parks. And that's the issue. And, you know, part of the issue that we had with this, we were working on what to do with Santa Rosa Park, and we came up with, various suggestions, was to find out ways to make money. Apparently the equestrian facility is not really making money. It doesn't sound like this pond, which, by the way, I think is going to be, a very interesting feature of the park. And, especially I like these rounded corners and all of that. I mean, I think it's great that we have a pond there. It always makes a place nicer, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be a money maker for the county in order to support the cost of running the park.
The
What
proposal to
about
date from the
some sort
CESP
of,
group
I'm sorry.
has been that it would be cost neutral to the department. So we've been entertaining it with that in mind, where we hadn't thought of leveraging the events to cover costs of the pond, just that we're so far pursuing the proposal as presented by the CESP team, fly fishers. So
Okay.
Well, I think, going back to our arena, I think our arena probably is getting used more than you're aware of. You're probably just not getting fees for it. Because realize that's the only public arena in Santa Rosa Valley.
I walk by there every night and it is being used.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people ride down to there and work their horses up. That happens quite a lot, but that's not making any money.
well, and as long as so a couple of things there. Folks are supposed to permit. The permits are very low cost. We do also get notes from rangers and staff. I could see that the evening windows, if that's, I can keep a better eye out for that. We do have notes on spot checking use trends, so it's not just the reservations that we look at. But more than the arena, I was really thinking of the parking lot. That seemed built for large event size with a medium size event size arena, just to put it kind of plain logic. So that more than hurrying over to like downsize the arena, I was really thinking of the parking area might be oversized.
Can I just put in a point there, Coulter, is that when we have horse events need a lot of parking space because they have horses, trailers, and trucks. And and they need room to move around and to be able to negotiate each other. So that's potentially why what you would call a large, when you say parking lot, it's just dirt. When you say that's a large area that is that's needed for horses and trailers.
Plus the fact that, that original parking lot, I can show you pictures from the tractor party from the equestrian community who brought their tractors to level that lot so that it is the lot. You're going to have a lot of people upset because they did it for that.
Well, and also when we had our event there with, I forget, Kimmy organized it.
Right.
So we said that was events.
Picnic.
That was a picnic space, event space with, booze and tables and easy ups. And then there was parking, like half of it was parking, half of it was event space.
But I have a question on that, Kevin. Who advertised for that?
That was homegrown advertising that, Rosemary, everybody put the word out.
Yeah.
We're having this.
Yeah, I sponsored it.
from my
Amy,
view,
I sponsored it.
Okay.
It was,
so from my
it was a lot of
viewpoint
money.
is the advertising of the space needs to be better. That's what needs to be better. So whoever's
Yeah.
responsible for that, that's something to really look at.
Right.
So I think we need to all help.
It's also used by a charity that I'm not quite sure what it is, but I know that a lot of women come
Breast cancer group.
play that game. Yes, breast cancer. What's it called?
All
Bunko?
right. Oh, Pink, the Bunko. I know, I was there.
Yes. Doesn't that happen every year?
Yeah, well, yes, I think it was the first year I was there, but it was a great event.
Well, that's the kind of thing that needs to be advertised.
And that was in the parking lot. He's right. And we need that space for those other things.
Hey, we could have, COVID vaccine clinics out there probably. for every-
See, here's what I don't understand, not to beat a dead horse, but like, couldn't there be outreach to more horse clubs and more like, there's a lot of them out there.
Mhm.
I think they spend too much money on their horses to be able to afford large entry fees.
Well, no, but the people, I mean, honestly, I've been showing a lot of horse property lately. And, everybody's asking me, where is there an arena? And believe me, that's where I'm telling them to go.
Mhm.
Because
So
they
are-
can't use the rancho if they don't live in that specific HOA.
It
So
just needs to be advertised better.
To use the arena, you need a permit, a day permit, or how does that supposed to be working?
It's like renting a shaded picnic area at a park. It's a facility rental. I would have to look up the cost. I want to say it's 15 an hour or something.
But
$15 an
private
hour?
individuals can just go and ride in the arena, is my understanding. Yes, am I
We
wrong?
certainly don't, we've never cited someone for rolling in there and riding their horses. That's for sure.
No.
We wouldn't,
You know what, if Coulter, if you could send me the information on the date or for the permits, I think we can all put it on our social media to just remind our friends in the equestrian community.
Yeah, and we have aerial photos, and we've just updated our reservation system, so it's a lot more customer friendly. If you've ever
Okay.
booked camping or whatever, so we have done the foundation for having a system we can market better through. That's just been a few weeks, so this is a good bit of these are some good tips that I look forward to exploring and seeing if we can activate that a little bit more.
And I
And,
think, obviously we need to work together with you because we do live here and we need to notify our friends about
Right.
how to do it.
And I have a suggestion, Coulter, and that is for money for maintenance. The Valley would be all about coming out for a volunteer fundraiser for equestrian park maintenance that would fund that. Like, I can see us putting that together, and these people that
Gotcha.
use it on a daily basis or night, they would come because they know it's going to go away if they don't come to the fundraiser and throw in some bucks. How's that sound?
Right. It sounds good.
Oh, I think that's a good point.
Yeah. But getting back to the fishing pond, I think that just because we're in a time sensitive situation with water and we have so many residents who've just lost hundreds of thousands of dollars of landscape, we need to identify where the water's coming from. And that's an important concern.
Yes.
And who's going to pay for it if it has to be emptied and refilled? Would that be on the county or would that be on the clubs?
We're approaching this amenity that it can't have a cost to the county.
Okay, well, they should know how much water costs then, because I'm paying 1,900 an acre foot now for potable water.
Well, I'm hoping that they can get non-potable because it is in a
Yeah.
location that should have non-potable.
It should be it is going to take a bit of time to work through the permitting for that.
I think
but I'm
someone
hopeful for
needs
that
to
too.
talk to Cam Rosa here or to the city of Thousand Oaks. It's their
Whose
water.
responsibility is that? To do that?
We're happy to do whatever we're directed to do. We just don't want to step on anyone's toes. So if we
Well,
need to
you
talk
need
to
to find
cameras
out who's the
or
wa-
Coulter does, whoever.
So Coulter,
We're-
who would do that?
Coulter, what water supply is there? Do you know if you have any non-potable well, pipes there?
I don't, I'm pretty sure we do not. So
Well, I'm-
it would normally be my role, but to put some context on this, it's not common that your parks director is your project manager and grant. I mean, I don't have a project team. We're not LA County with 2,600 staff. We're 23 staff. So we capacity, I don't like saying that in public meetings, but it's gonna fit in our priority, which is behind all the funded grants we have at this point, when we're the project manager for it. But we can certainly work with CESP to project lead some things for us.
Well, I think you just need to talk to the Hill Canyon and Rosa and find out who has non-potable water lines there.
But he's saying Chesapeake fly fishing should take that on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
just need directions and guidance. If you'd say, call this person or call that office, we'll do it. We just don't know quite where to begin.
So who will do that for them?
How about Linda Parks?
Oh, there.
Hey, there we go. There we
Awesome.
go.
So
Cool.
then you could,
Tony Stafford is the manager at Rosa Water District. He's the person to talk to.
I don't have his phone number. I thought I did.
He
What
was
did
on
he-
the last meeting and he actually addressed it, but I don't remember what he said. He
Right.
heard the pond pitch and it was the first he had heard of it. But you know,
I know. Denise, can you get the numbers for the Hill Canyon people and
Sure.
Tony's
Tony,
to
Mike.
Vespi?
am I giving it to you, Karen? Or
Sure, yeah, I can, Earl and I can manage it, but I'll write it all down.
Okay. I'll send that shortly.
And I'm going to suggest that
I'm writing down.
because somebody at one point said, "Oh, we're going to use potable water for that." That does not seem like it would be a very popular idea.
No, I
People
always
are
thought
not
that we
able
were
to water
gonna
their
use.
lawns, but we're able
Rosa.
to we're able to build a pond. So I think the non-potable is the way to go. And there are non-potable lines going up Santa Rosa Road at that point.
There are.
Yeah.
So then it would be a matter of the laying a trench and a plumbing line and
All
also
that,
getting
yeah.
an allocation.
Rosa has all sorts of facilities right there at the entrance to Hill Canyon, as you probably have seen. I don't know if you've been there recently.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, but that definitely needs to be identified.
Yeah. I mean,
Source of water.
fill up water trucks at Gary Ranch with non-potable and truck it over there.
That would be
Well,
expensive.
I'm gonna throw this out because I know you'll see in my next thing. There is groundwater and maybe a well. There's another
Okay.
way to go.
Someone just chatted us and gave us Tony's number. Did you see that?
Oh, okay. I was
Tony Spafford's
just
number?
emailing it to Karen. I'm sending you an email.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and with his contact information.
Okay, and I saw the message with Tony Stafford's number too. So thank you very
Okay,
much.
Sure.
Now, I didn't see a parking lot on that diagram, or is the arena lot going to be used for this fly fishing, or another lot is going to be installed?
We thought that it would be enough. It's a pretty big lot and we would just need to coordinate if they have a special event, obviously. But in general, it's pretty empty for.
Yeah, there's a
Okay,
lot of
so
space
then
there.
another reason to leave the lot alone, then it sounds like.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's fine to share it.
Mhm.
So, but it is another reason to keep that lot the way it is. Okay. What else would you like us to do during this meeting? I think we've given you more homework to go do.
No, and I was expecting that. I knew there's always a risk coming early with a group when you don't have all the answers, but it's a very moldable arrangement. So loud and clear on, we've committed to giving you a better full 5-year vision for the park before doing improvements. Loud and clear on work harder to activate the site versus making changes first. So we will be doing that, and we'll get with the CESP group and see about figuring out the water and the discharge, and then get back with you guys with probably some more questions about what other amenities, so we can fit them in, at least in a concept. Maybe they're not funded, maybe they're just shown that we haven't taken up space that we regret taking up with one amenity. So
Great.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I think this is a wonderful amenity that would be a complement to the park and increase use and awareness of the park to other people. I honestly do, think that this is a great thing, but
I
do
agree. I
realize-
agree. Once all those issues can be sorted,
Right.
sorted out, I think it's going to be an asset.
Yeah, I'm most concerned about the water because of our other issues statewide right now. So, we need to get that cleared and where the water is coming from. So, but thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Coulter, was there anything else that you're going to talk to us about?
No, I'm glad to answer any other questions. I don't want to take your whole meetings, but appreciate the feedback.
I was wondering how disc golf goes at other parks like ours. Disc golf.
Disc golf. So at Oak Park, we're partnering with Rancho Simi to put in a 9, probably 18, 9 for sure, 18 as part of that grant. So that's a partnership project with us and the larger rec provider. They say we haven't been approached with it too much, but I know as a sport overall, it's quite popular. And I know the level of play is getting ridiculous, what the top players can do and the distances and stuff, and the need to have them in larger parks. And
The other thing I keep hearing about is pickleball.
Yes, we're actually in conversations with City of Ojai to do more pickleball at Soul Park. The Rancho Conejo Park up, probably only 3 miles as the crow flies from Santa Rosa, but up off of N2, they put the 6 pickleball courts in there, and it's packed every time you go.
Do they pay for that?
No, so CRPD, so the 3 special districts that do rec in the county are Rancho Simi, CRPD, and Pleasant Valley. So they're a special assessment district that funds parks. So
see, unfortunately, that's what we're missing.
Yes.
Well, we're working hard for you. We're trying to, if we can expand camping in certain parks and do more of that, we'll be revenue positive enough to start contributing in the rec space more. But those 6 courts were $440,000 that CRPD put in for 6 courts. So there's some real, they're nice. People love them.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Pickleball is something that's so popular right now, and I know people are always asking, and it doesn't take water.
It does, and there's a fairly small footprint, to be honest, as well.
Yeah.
So
So now, Kevin, the golf that you're talking about, is that on lawns? You're mute.
What do you mean online?
No, the disc golf. I've never heard of that.
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking now that's too small of a park. You'd probably have to go into Hill Canyon to play. It's like a golf course with a frisbee.
Oh, okay.
It usually goes along with craft beer too.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, listen.
It's
Coulter?
possible. Just to share, last little thing for folks. So this is the parcel, the 50-acre parcel. You can see we do have some room. It is also such a nice.
I'm not seeing anything. Did you share it?
Oh,
There you go. Okay.
So that's the county-owned parcel. So there would be room to potentially, I think it would be small for what the big throwers, the competition level folks really can throw the discs quite a distance. So it probably is small, but we should look at it. It could be a smaller course consideration. It would. It is also pretty nice habitat, kind of quiet. Oh, lots of
Just,
birds and
you know,
wildlife.
the area south of the arroyo is, well, first of all, there's no bridge across, although there's a bridge further away,
Right.
but
just
there is
this
no
one.
bridge there. So that's one issue. And the second thing is that pretty quickly, as you can see from the topography, it starts to go really steep uphill there.
Really steep. Yeah.
So I'm not sure how useful that piece of land on the, you know, south of the tribute of the water, where the stream's coming out of the the treatment plant is going to be.
Yeah, that was
Well,
just
and I-
one idea. There's probably 3 or 4 other ideas that we came up with, but I forget what they are now. But anyway, we should dig that survey out again.
I'm looking for it right now. I'm
Okay.
gonna send it to Coulter.
Okay,
Okay.
that'd be great. Thanks, Denise.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
I think as we look at, you know, what we want to do with the park, I think we want to, in my view, I think we should try to keep the rural character of the park rather than having a city park that's out in a rural area. I think that's more in keeping with, you know, our area. I mean, there's city parks all over the place, but there aren't a lot of parks that are rural like this that, you know, we have, you know, some options to do with.
I agree.
And we also don't want the park to get so crowded that you don't really feel like you're getting away from anything. You almost feel like you're going into a crowd of people. And, you know, it's a nice, peaceful park out there.
But I think that's what the fly fishing thing is kind of interesting about, because I don't want to be rude, but first off, when I think of people that want to go out and do fly fishing casting, I'm not thinking of like a bunch of rowdy people, right?
Mhm.
And that's kind of cool. I like it that it's kind of a little bit tailored, and if you could do use for something else, it's kind of cool. Camping, I get it, it makes money, but that just to me has problems all over it. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's kind of asking for trouble.
yeah.
There was also a question of a dog park too.
Yeah, I've seen a
I
dog
like the idea of a
park
dog park. But we need grass and then we need water.
So
Well, and
Grass?
they are, you know, dog parks are an ecological issue. You know, there's a lot of waste in dog parks.
And they don't go
And
well
again,
with
is that really
horses.
a rural park? It seems more city to me, but let people decide on that.
I'd be interested to find out how other counties finance their parks. Denise, is that something you could do a little survey for us?
How
We
other-
are the only county in the state of California that tries to make money off their parks, and I don't support the whole concept, quite frankly.
That's a very interesting thing. So
Yes.
really, we're asking questions at a level that are so far below where the problem is, that maybe that's what we should be dealing with.
Well, and
LA
the and
County, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, we have hundreds of millions of dollars in our reserves, and we have been subsidizing parks, and I think that's completely appropriate. We subsidize our libraries. Parks is just another one of those. So
Right.
that's
Can
a
we
policy
maybe
issue,
put this,
though.
can we put this as on an agenda item for a future meeting, please? I'm shocked.
What would you like that to, what's the?
A
agenda
letter.
I
item?
would like to
letter.
have, you know, should we
What
make a
is it?
recommendation to the county about changing their policy about financing parks?
So, you know, there are also some nice things that are happening. For example, Casca is giving the county parks money for people to park for free, right, at Santa Rosa Park, and that's some $7,000 a year that they're getting. So it's
I
nice
have
that
to
they
say
are.
that I think it's great that that happens, and I know you worked very hard to make that happen. But it only makes me feel sadder that Ventura County is relying on Thousand Oaks to give them money to support a park.
Right, and the reason they're doing that is because Ventura County is trying to make money from their parks and they charge for
Right.
parking. We know that. But at any rate, if certainly if you would like to write a letter and support, it'd probably be better near budget time. But I think that's, to me, something that we
But-
should be funding. And there is a new board of supervisors, and there will be even another new board coming in, and people who particularly come from cities, like Matt Levere was with the city of Ventura. They just understand you fund your parks.
I agree, and it would make Coulter's job so much easier.
We could do some fun stuff. Measure A that LA passed in 2018 is a good model to look at. It's a $0.015 per square foot of residential. It's a small residential tax. And that funds their parks. And what you might like about it is the county doesn't hold most of the funds. It distributes them back out to cities, or it distributes 75% of them by way of grants for other entities to add. So the county benefits and can do more recreation, but so can all the other places throughout the county providers. So
I think it's certainly a discussion that should be had at the county level.
I agree.
It might be best to have that discussion closer to the budget time, which is, the June framework.
I hear what you're saying, but my experience is these things take a long time to move through, people to start thinking about, and the sooner you start like bringing it up as a thought, the more that people will think about it. It usually takes years to get something changed as important as that at county level. Years.
And then sometimes you just have that discussion during the budget with 5 supervisors without staff, and they just
Right.
say, yes, I agree, and then it gets passed. But if you give a
Right.
lot of time, you'll get a lot of potential pushback because.
Can we do it before the end of this term to be safe?
Yeah, there's no more budgets for Linda, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
actually, one of the things that I'm looking at is, with the allowance now for cannabis and cannabis tax, that there isn't a designated source for those tax instead of just the general fund. The idea of putting that towards parks is one of my thoughts too. Find that revenue source so we don't have to nickel and dime, our parks department.
I love it.
Linda, do you remember when I was telling you I didn't like the idea of term limits?
Okay,
let's keep going. All right. Coulter, thank you so much. I think we've probably taken enough of your evening.
no, thank you all, and thank you for the candid and feedback and the quality information discussion.
And Karen and Earl, we look forward to getting the information regarding the water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we're
All
on
right.
it. Okay,
Okay.
thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The next thing we have is information, the Arroyo Santa Rosa
We
Basin
need,
ground.
we need to go back to Linda Parks.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Oh,
shall we
you're
do
back.
that?
Yes, let's do
I'll
that.
go ahead and do my supervisor comments.
Okay.
The county just has a big thank you. We have some other Ventura County probation agencies work release crew was out there cleaning up Santa Rosa Road, August 27th and 28th. So we're real happy for the probations. Robert Barna there and Sarah Tobias helped lead that, along with the Public Works Agency, Rudy Munoz, for coordinating that event. So I recognize them during my board comments and thank them. We also had a situation where a resident had asked for a portion of Santa Rosa Road where it meets Penelope Place needed to be repaved, and the constituent was so happy with the way that they came so quickly upon request and did just, as he said, what was needed. And so again, I mentioned at my board comments, just thank you again for the quick and efficient repairs on Santa Rosa Road at Penelope. And that was Joe Hernandez was our crew leader, and Jose Rodriguez, Joe Valdiva, Eric Brockway, Ivan Ventacourt, coordinator, Superintendent Rudy Munoz again, and their supervisor, Tony Valenzuela. It's just, so often things just happen, but you can take that for granted. But I just wanted to make sure that the guys that are out there doing the work, and the ladies, just to give them a thanks, because it's nice to see such good public service. And then finally, along those lines, Larry Williams, you may have had opportunities to talk with him. He's with our fire department. He always goes above and beyond. And he went out to personally speak to residents in Santa Rosa Valley about their brush clearance concerns. So again, very knowledgeable fire prevention individual with our fire department, and a great asset to our county. As far as updates go, the city of Thousand Oaks requested that the Watershed Protection District waive its fees for a bridge that they're building. It's a pedestrian bridge. It's closer to their treatment plant, but it will also allow for pedestrians, in this case, mostly hikers, to cross over there. And the county, at my request, did waive that fee, and I was glad to see that. Because like I was saying, we have these collaborative partnerships, them paying our parking fees, we help waive their fees for the bridge. I think that is just such a good benefit to the public. I look back in the day, when we had a different city manager there, and, they fought us on Santa Rosa Park and wouldn't give us an easement for a trail. We ended up doing it. I did it in 2 phases because, I wasn't going to stop building the park because the city was holding us up. But, in the end, it all worked out, and I just really appreciate where we have those opportunities to get that collaboration. So I'm glad the board supported that. Also, at our board meeting on Tuesday, we did celebrate honored the life of Carmen Ramirez, a really good friend of mine, a great partner, and many of the things I did. And you just realize what an amazing impact she has had on so many lives. And also, I just, coming from the same position I do in terms of for the environment, for addressing climate change. And then she was also a legal aid attorney. So her real focus on making sure there was justice, particularly women, farm workers, immigrants. So, it's almost like you don't realize the impact you have until you're gone. And I'm sorry she didn't see the giant in the community and in the county and in the region that so many people found her to be. So she'll be much missed. One of the things she helped me with was getting a new county seal. And then on Tuesday, we also approved guidelines for using our new county flag. And so the flags are out there. We have them. It's been raised above the government center. We found out that there was actually an individual who created a flag back in 1976. He got it approved by John Flynn, not John Flynn, Ed Jones, way back in 1976 in December. And then a new board came on in January and rescinded it. So it never got, flown or made, but we honored him too, because he actually had the first flag. It was a condor. Also, we've been requested by a cyclist, just saying how important it would be to get some cyclist safety signs on Santa Rosa Road. So we're checking into that, all we can do to make it safe for cyclists. And then there's also the bike project that's moving forward that will start in January 2023. And the construction actually in late 2023 to finish the bike lane. Finally, you probably know more than I on the decommissioned debris basin, but the Watershed Protection District is doing additional improvements on that. It's called Santa Rosa Road number 2 debris basin, including erosion repairs on the channel bed, banks, and access roads. And the Watershed Protection District says they're not substantial repairs, but we approved those at our last meeting on Tuesday too. And I think that concludes my comments.
Mark?
Yes. Do you have any information on when the county will be able to reopen the trail that goes through the debris basin, and which I think seems to be somehow or other locked up with a lawsuit that is one of the residents in that area was involved with. Do you have any more information on that?
We'll get back to you, Mark. Don't have that.
Okay, thanks.
I just wanted to throw one thing out. Linda, you mentioned how great the response is from the county. I don't know if all of you guys are aware that Ventura County Public Work Agencies has this application called Connect, and it's where you can report a concern. And I've used it 3 or 4 times for little things you drive by and you see, oh, that sign's knocked over, or there was my neighbor had a bump in his asphalt outside his driveway on Priscilla. You enter in the location, you enter in your name, what the issue is, and the system, they send you back an email. Okay, we'll look into it. They send you an email updating when they're going to fix it, and then they send an email saying it's fixed. So that is on the website. If you want to go to Public Works Agency, Ventura County, look for report a concern, and boom, it's really electronic.
And I see Venice there typing. So she's
I
probably
know,
going
I'm
to put
looking-
it on
I'm
the
gonna-
chat.
I'll get it
thank
right in
for
the chat for you.
mentioning-
Mhm.
Thank
Okay,
you for
I just-
mentioning that. It is a great resource. I really do. Thank you for mentioning that. Any public works issues that you have, you can actually just go online, like you said, very responsive.
All right, there we go.
Can you
All right.
send me that information,
Yeah,
Venice?
that should
I'm
go
gonna
onto
put
the
it in
Santa
the
Rosa
chat
Valley
here.
Voice page. That would be
Yeah,
good.
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and you know what, when we are in person, I always bring little cards with me that have that
Yes.
information as well. So pick up a little card, and here's the website.
That's where I learned about it. Thank you,
Ah,
Denise.
When I had a problem, I just emailed Venice and she got it.
I know. She just takes care of it. Thank you so much for having such a great office, Linda.
It's great.
I'm very lucky. I have the best staff.
You definitely do.
We do.
Thank you.
You can also go on the Google Play Store or the Apple Store and just type in Ventura County Public Works, and you'll find the app on there and download it to your phone.
Oh,
Great.
okay.
Oh,
It's really that easy.
there you go.
Thank you. Okay. Supervisor Parks, do you have any other?
Nope, that's all I have to report. And I know that, we have a lot of requests to put things on the agenda, and we just have to make sure that we got the timing to work out with our staff and whether they have the information available. But Venice is definitely on it.
Okay.
Well, we thank you, Venice, for the time that you do devote to us. I know it's quite a lot. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, so now let's go to the Arroyo Rancho Santa Rosa Basin Groundwater Sustainability Agency and Groundwater Sustainability Plan.
So if I may take this, just give you I won't make this too long because seems to have spent a lot of time already on the last item, but the state mandated that all groundwater basins need to have a sustainability agency or a management agency that would then create a groundwater sustainability plan that would be exactly that, a plan to how the groundwater would continue into the future. I'm not quite sure. I think it may be 2070 is the timeline that they're looking at. One of the things that we got was a 2070 date. We have one which is called the Arroyo Santa Rosa Basin Groundwater Sustainability Agency, which is a joint agency of Cam Rosa Water District and the one member from the Public Works Agency. So that is our agency. They have been working on, they have hired a company called Interra, who have been analyzing the groundwater, the history of the groundwater, where it stands now, and the future of the groundwater in the Santa Rosa Valley Basin. And on August the 4th, we had the first, I'll call it the public meeting or stakeholder engagement webinar, which was a Zoom meeting, which gave a report on what they had found out so far. The stakeholders are basically people who own wells, or it was open to anybody who wanted to go. So Interra gave a report, and there are two sort of major issues, obviously, that are concerning regarding the groundwater. One is that the groundwater should continue to be there and not be sucked dry by usage of the various users. And the result of Interra's investigation was that since about I'm going to say 65, maybe it was a little later than that, the water levels have been keeping pretty steady in the Santa Rosa Valley groundwater basin. And the belief is that that may be because that water comes from the Hill Canyon water treatment plant, and that is going into the groundwater. That may be one of the reasons why. The estimate from Interra was that until the year 2070, the water levels would still maintain. So that's the good news. Now, the bad news is that starting at about 1950, the nitrate levels started increasing in our groundwater. And by just so you know, I'll give you like, there is a limit, federal limit in water of nitrates of 45 milligrams per liter. That's above that is regarded as unsafe. By the 1990s, the nitrate limits had crept up in Santa Rosa Valley to over 100. And when we get to the ADUs, we'll discuss the issue that maybe how that's connected. In 2007, there were still wells that were exceeding at 100 milligrams per liter. And I know from my personal well that the levels are up above the 45, and that is yearly tested by the county. So the result of then the stakeholders, there was a sort of a questionnaire for the stakeholders, and the stakeholders said that the most important thing that they were concerned about with the Santa Rosa Valley groundwater was this nitrate issue. So the sustainability plan will probably come up with some kind of a recommendation. Hopefully we'll come up with a recommendation about how we can reduce that. But before they do that, they need to be sure of where it's coming from, what are the issues it's coming from. It's coming from, and you know, they don't know yet, but I mean, some of it may be, it's coming from agricultural use or past agricultural use. It comes from septic tanks, and maybe from, to a certain extent, from livestock. And then I'm not sure what the level is that's coming through from the Hill Canyon treatment plant. But that is sort of the biggest issue, and hopefully they will come up with a plan that can reduce that water. Just so you know, we use that groundwater for our drinking water, and Rosa dilutes it with potable water from the other parts of the state in order to make it drinkable. So it is of serious concern to those people who live in Santa Rosa Valley. That's my report.
I have a question, Mark. There was another webinar that Steve Bennett sponsored. I think it was less than a week ago. And it was all of Ventura County. Let's have all the agencies chat about where they're at, what their plans are. Steve mentioned in that webinar that the sustainability plans for all the basins that were critical 4 and 5, they had to be submitted to the state regional water board.
That is
And
correct.
that the state rejected every one of those plans except for Fox Canyon, as far as they weren't acceptable yet. So my guess is then our agency is going back to the drawing board to update the sustainability plan to get it accepted, correct?
As I understand it, we have not done the plan yet. And my understanding is that the plan has to be given to the state by, it's early next year. So that's what we were doing. You know, this was the beginning of that. They're going to continue to work on the sustainability plan, and then they will submit it to the state. As you say, the state requires everybody, every agency to submit it, but they have not done it yet. I don't know the exact date, but it's sometime early next year.
Michael?
Yep. Mark, the meeting that you attended, is that the planning commission meeting that we saw that went out in the email?
No, this is something totally separate, except that the thing that I sent you about the reasons that I had so many questions regarding the planning commission is that the density of housing in Santa Rosa Valley, and I don't want to get onto that item now, but the density of housing in Santa Rosa Valley affects the nitrate levels, and there has been, as a result of that, there has been a moratorium on the lot sizes in the Santa Rosa Valley.
Which, plus it also has limited the amount of properties that can have horses on them.
Just
Wildwood Preserve.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
But if we can, Michael, I just don't want to preempt the next item, but the next item, when we don't have the information that we need from the county yet, but we could discuss some of these issues. And I think all those questions you have a copy of that email that I sent. We do not have answers from the county yet on all those issues, those questions.
Through my profession, I'm a member of a legislative committee. And one of the things that we have been working on is, trying to find additional sources for water. Gavin Newsom has just put out a very large plan, which actually is very welcome at this point. And it spearheads millions of dollars for increasing the storability of water, adding desalination plants, and it's a 5-year plan. And what I'd like to do is send that to Venice so that she can distribute it to the members of the MAC, because I think it's a very informative piece. So, but obviously one of the biggest situations here, and I know I'm hearing it, are the people that are losing their landscape. And unfortunately, what I'm hearing at the higher levels of these meetings is that Californians have to be prepared to say goodbye to their landscape, and we need to change what we're using in our yards.
Yeah, the Steve Bennett meeting, it was titled "The Aridification of Southern California" or something like that. And other thing that came up in that meeting, I don't know if you guys remember, Cam Rosa was really upset with MWD putting on the restrictions because they didn't put them on San Diego County, or they have a huge area, but Ventura County, our eastern Ventura County, we got restricted because we don't have the pipes that supply water from the Colorado River, whereas MWD has that for their other districts. Well, MWD at the Steve Bennett meeting, the representative said, okay, we heard it. Now we're going to start construction on that pipeline, but not for another couple of years. So they should have done it 2 years ago, but now they do have construction plans to do it now, which would relieve us getting, if there's any water left in Colorado River, we'll get that someday down the line.
They should have started in the 1960s when the previous Governor Brown had put in the California Water Project, which was never completed. So anyway,
Oh, the parallel pipe.
Jerry
or whatever.
Brown tried to revive it. And honestly, lots of our governors have tried to put things on ballots. Unfortunately, people don't vote for it because it costs money. So, but
Well, I think we've voted for quite a few water project bonds that actually have not yet been spent, is my understanding.
well, yeah, in 2021, there was one that was passed, and that's where the funds are coming from the state for the projects that I'm sending to Venice to show. So, but anyway, but
Well, it would be good if, maybe as part of the MAC or something, part of the community, to give people ideas on what kind of landscaping can be done around the house to cut water use. I mean, I'd certainly be interested in that, some sort of low water use, ground covers, that kind of thing. A lot of times you hear, well, use native plants. Well, I've already got native plants all around my house, but do I really want, that's not really landscaping. So,
well, one thing we cannot do is use redwood chips because of the fire issues,
right.
which a lot of people have used.
Right.
There's different types of ground cover that they're suggesting that is fire retardant. But the biggest thing to me is so much of in researching this, 70% of our water that comes down goes to the ocean. I had sold a house on Rancho Vista a couple of years ago, and I was so impressed. They had a rain gutter system that went into rain barrels. The water went into rain barrels, and they were utilizing that. And I think what we need to start doing is showing our constituents the different ways to conserve the water so that the water coming from the sky isn't thrown away.
It just doesn't come very much.
That's true.
Not a lot of it. I mean, we have non-potable water here at our home, and we have a big lawn, and I still feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly looking at, okay, and there's actually a great website which I'll send to Venice. It's I can't remember right now, but it's all about what to do with your yard, and it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Well, I can say that my lawns have not survived 1 day of watering a week. That did not work.
What I'm worried about are the trees. We need to educate people not to lose their trees, because if we have a lot of dead trees, we've got a huge fire hazard. And our
Right.
fire insurance bills cannot handle another huge fire.
Well, I've had to go and manually water the trees, and deep soak the ground. They took a real beating, and I'm sure everybody's trees here took a real beating during the heat wave. I've got leaves like you wouldn't believe on the ground. It looks like fall here.
We need to keep to the topic of the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Which item are we on, Rosemary?
We're on the groundwater sustainability. We're talking about water.
Okay.
Okay. So what is next on the sustainability plan?
They will come up with Interra will come up with the report, and then they will have that board of people will come up with a sustainability plan, and that has to be done by early next year.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Our action item, and I'm going to defer to you, Mark, on this one.
Yes, let me give a little, again, background. There was a planning commission meeting in the middle of August where there was a presentation from the planning department regarding the new laws from the state about additional dwelling units and junior additional dwelling units. Junior means that they're inside the house, and a additional dwelling unit means it's a separate building. That was a whole very long presentation. However, the part that was of interest or concern to me is that planning said that they were going to not include or basically ignore this, what was called the Arroyo Santa Rosa and Tierra Rajada groundwater quality impact area, which is what we have been dealing with in terms of development in Santa Rosa Valley for, I'm going to say, 20 years. And the basic idea was that they would limit the number of septic tanks per area in order to not increase the levels of nitrates that were going into the groundwater. And we in Santa Rosa Valley have a specifically different rural lot size than anywhere else in the county because of our polluted groundwater. So what was of concern was that planning was saying, oh, we can't deal with this because they have certain rules that they're getting from this department called the California Department of Housing and Community Development. So what they said was it was too high of a bar for them to deal with. So I have sent a letter which went to the planning department, and I think all the board members have a copy of that email. Is that correct?
We definitely received it at my office.
Okay. It sounded like Michael had it, and so I'm sure the rest of you got it as well. I think Denise probably forwarded that to you.
It was forwarded to the planning department for sure.
Right. I had asked
Right.
at the end of the email, I had asked that it be supplied. How come did?
I don't have it.
I
Okay.
don't have it.
So,
At the end of the
Well,
email,
I
I
was
had asked that it would go to the MAC members. It doesn't matter. Look, it's
well, no, I was planning to send it with the responses. And we never got the responses.
I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. All right. So I'm not going to read all this out. It's a 3-page letter with lots of questions about what they're doing. And also the implication was that the planning department has one set of rules, and then when it gets over to buildings and safety, they have another set of rules, and then they have to go over to environmental health. So I was asking a lot of questions about how this process is going to happen, what they're doing, and how they are going to stop the increase, any increase in nitrate pollution in our groundwater when we could put in potentially 1,000 additional dwelling units in Santa Rosa Valley. So those questions were not answered. The issue was time sensitive because originally planning was going to bring this to the Board of Supervisors at the beginning of December. Apparently they have not, they haven't been able to answer my questions, nor have they been able to finish the work that they were doing for the county yet. So that has been now moved later in the Board of Supervisors calendar. We don't know when.
You meant October.
It's
And
what?
You meant, you said December.
Oh, it was moved from October, right?
To November tentatively.
To potentially November. Okay. So,
potentially.
and in order for us to make a recommendation on what the Planning Commission is proposing to the Board of Supervisors, we need to know what they're doing, and they haven't got it yet. So, and also we would like to have answers to the questions that I gave them. So I think this is an important enough issue that if they come up with this and it's before our next MAC meeting that we should have an emergency MAC meeting or a special MAC meeting in order to make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors on what's happening in Santa Rosa Valley and nitrate pollution. So,
Here.
any questions?
And I will stay on top of planning, try to get those dates. And as soon as I get any information, send an email out to see when we can, if it goes before your next, if it goes into December, because there's only one Board of Supervisors meeting so far in November, just November 1st. So if they don't make the November 1st agenda, it'll go to December. So you could potentially have it on your regular November meeting, but that's up to you, how soon you want to do it.
I think as long as we have a meeting before it goes to the Board of Supervisors, we're good. And
Okay.
I would request that the email that I sent to Supervisor Parks and you sent on to planning, that could we please forward that now to the other MAC members so that they have an idea of what the issues are.
Sure. So the thought process behind that was we were going to get it with the answers so you could
I
be able to.
understand.
But
So,
I'll go ahead
Mark-
and send it now.
Mark, your request, you're saying commissioners, but you mean the other MAC members?
I meant the MAC members, yes.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
I can certainly do that. Sure.
Sorry, I meant the MAC members. I misspoke. Thank you.
Yeah, I commend you, Mark, that you want to try to do it timing wise, but
Yep.
what Linda alluded to earlier is, well, sometimes if things kind of slip, then it's easier for the Board of Supervisors, just like, okay, well, we don't have all the info, let's make the decision. So we want to avoid that. Thank you.
So I think what you want the action item to be is to have us direct our staff to have a special meeting if need be, just as long as you're able to have a vote on your letter of recommendation before the Board of Supervisors hears it, correct?
That sounds correct to me. I mean, until we know what
Have you read, in looking at like the Ojai overlay, I'm wondering if we should try to set up like a special committee?
So that's for the temporary rental unit.
Right, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I am.
That's different.
Okay, so we haven't talked about that yet. Okay.
We have not got there yet. No,
just
I'm
that was all
sorry,
part of it.
sorry, it would be, if you have, if you had, when you see this email, you'll understand what the issues are.
Okay.
Do we need any kind of motion to say we're going to do this action that you just said we're doing? Or
I think we need to postpone it till the next meeting, till we have
Yeah,
the,
we need to postpone this item, right? Until either a special meeting or until the next MAC meeting.
okay,
well, until we get the responses.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just the responses, we also need to know what the Planning Commission is recommending to the Board of Supervisors. When will we get, do we know when that will come out, Venice? Or will it just come out on the day of the board meeting?
So no. I mean, I keep checking in with Ms. Kadakia. But like she was supposed to get them to me a while ago. Then she said by September 12th. And then the agenda went out and she said, oh, we're not going to have it. So, I think they're still working it out. So I just keep staying on top of her and checking in with her. But no, I don't want them to surprise you and be like, and here it is. So I will continue to stay on top of it and see where we
All
are.
right. What I was really asking is the item that the Planning Commission is going to take to the Board of Supervisors, whether it's in November or December.
The planning department.
Yes, the Planning Department is, they will have a recommendation which went through, or it's already been through the Planning Commission. And now they're going to, I don't know if they're going to change it at all, but it sounds like they're doing a lot of work on it. What I really would like to be able to do is for us to be able to see that before it goes to the Board of Supervisors, because there is a tendency for these items not to come up until a day or two, and then it just goes to the Board of Supervisors.
I see. Okay.
But I don't know whether that's going to happen.
I'll check in with Ms. Kadakia and tell her that that is what the MAC is requesting, that they have that. I
I
can
mean,
sure.
I can, if, if anybody's interested, I can tell you what I think might be, well, might be a motion is, from us, is that we approve whatever it is that the Planning Commission is recommending, because they have some issues with the state, as long as there is a system in place which restricts or which controls ADUs in the Santa Rosa Valley to the point where we are not adding additional nitrate load to the groundwater. We've had that for 20 years, and we don't want to now suddenly lose that and have more pollution in the groundwater. So that's what I feel like this board should be, the message should be to the Board of Supervisors.
Can I ask Linda a question? Linda,
Yes.
how did El Rio, that's a county area, right?
Yes.
How did they get mandated to put in sewer systems instead of septics? How did that go down?
That was the Regional Water Quality Control Board. And I think, I don't know if that same situation could occur in Santa Rosa Valley.
I know they required it in Thousand Oaks in the Canay Oaks district years ago. Everyone had to, within
Was
2
that-
years, put in
Was that city or county?
those city.
Well,
of
that,
Thou-
yeah, and the thing is you don't have a sewer system where, but they did have to connect with a sewer system.
Right.
Jen has her hand up.
I'm sorry, who does? I didn't see
Jen.
it.
Jen. Jen,
Okay.
if you're on an iPhone, you can unmute yourself by pressing *6. Oh, you got it.
Okay.
Yeah, hi. I attended that board planning department to the commissioners meeting in August via Zoom. It was Mark and I, and my understanding, Mark, was the planning commission was to recommend to proceed and dismiss our situation restrictions because of legal situations with restricting ADUs on certain lot sizes because of our groundwater impact, critical impact area of the groundwater.
My
So-
understanding is that it was staff's belief that the new law precludes the ability to use groundwater as a reason for limiting ADUs. And so that was the way staff was proceeding. And then something happened, we don't know, where all of a sudden staff said, hey, we need to relook at this. It might be the good questions of Mark Burley for all I know. So I think there is going to be a different, outcome as a result of staff's review. My concern is that it may end up going back to the Planning Commission again if it's a significant change, or otherwise it will go to the Board of Supervisors if it isn't too significant.
Okay, so that happened after the meeting was over and like weeks, because normally I was getting notification via email from Rashida, and I haven't received anything since that hearing.
Exactly. It's since the Planning Commission meeting. They were coming to the board. We were going to get your answers to questions. They were going to come to the MAC. But now they have found that they need to, I think, do a review of some outstanding issues, which may be this. I'm not sure, but it may be.
Okay. And possible this, because there was also a question, and it seemed confusing between the commissioners that they didn't understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, that they weren't understanding the whole will serve situation as well. And basically how it ended with them all voting 5-0 was, well, if they're still giving will serves, then who are we to restrict? If Rosa is allowing and they're in charge of the water, drinking water.
You are correct. They misunderstood that.
So
They were confusing getting a will serve with discharge of wastewater into the ground.
into our groundwater, our drinking water.
Right,
right.
which is nothing to do with Camarosa. That's
Yeah,
that's
and
a
I'm
county-
hoping-
that's county health.
I'm hoping the resolution isn't to import more water at our cost to dilute the nitrates. I hope that's not their solution. To accommodate, to not have legal issues to accommodate the ADU situation. I just wanted to put that in. I'm done. Sorry.
All right. So I think it's a wait and see, and we're just gonna move this item down the road, right?
I think we should postpone this, yes, until we have resolutions to your questions have gone to them. So hopefully we're gonna get some responses.
Right, and they obviously are making some kind of sounds from what Supervisor Park's saying, that they're making some kind of changes to their recommendations. I'd be interested to see what that is.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to me on that.
Thank you, Mark.
If it turns out that the recommendation of our planning staff is in line with what Mark Burley would like to see, then we may not need to have that special meeting. What do you think?
That is correct. I mean, if they're saying that if they feel like they can reach this, and I quote, high evidentiary bar, to justify the fact that they include the water quality impact area, then we don't have an issue.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yep.
Well, I definitely would like to get some notification of that as soon as that decision is made.
Okay. Kevin, can I ask you to take over? I'm sorry.
Okay,
I have COVID and I'm just starting to cough and I know it's not gonna stop. I'm so sorry.
all right, sorry.
Kevin, can I take a 1-minute break? I'm just going to put.
Yeah, let's do a 1-minute bio break.
Okay.
I will.
I will bring up the agenda.
Yeah,
computer.
actually, I can, if you want it, I can put the agenda up as a,
No, I can have it on my, I need it on my computer in case you put something else up. Here it is.
you sharing it?
Well, I'll bring it up on my desktop so that I can refer to it. So
Okay,
we're not going to talk about it, but the next thing up is the temporary rental unit
Right.
overlay consideration.
right.
And then we have council comments, not on the agenda, public comments, not on the agenda, written communications, future agenda items. So we just have one biggie left.
Yep. So what I'm gonna do while we're on a break, I'm gonna just share this agenda.
Sounds good. Just like at a regular Board of Supervisors meeting.
I know,
there's like-
I wasn't planning a break. I
Maybe-
should have had a little note. Let me make a little note.
I think you should have the Mac logo thing in the upper left corner. That should be big. And it'll say, we'll be back in a minute.
Back in a sec, back in a jiff.
I'll be back in a sec too.
Yeah.
Okey dokey. See. Ooh, wow, nice.
I didn't have the,
Okay, I'm back.
the logo.
Oh, just in time to see our new in recess.
The in recess, is this a new thing for us?
Oh goodness, oh my gosh, I spelled it wrong. There you go.
Recess.
Right, okay, you know what, it didn't autocorrect or auto spell check for me.
I love it.
I was moving quickly.
So not sure if Rosemary is going to actually join back. She couldn't talk, but I don't know. She's taking care of herself.
Okay.
She has a big stake in this whole temporary TRU thing, so
Yeah.
hopefully she can come back.
Right.
Oh, but and I didn't do my research on it. So, Mark, do you know about what we're talking about here?
I do know what we're talking about, and I mean, we've sort of discussed it a couple of times now. We came up with the idea originally. It seems like it may be a steep hill to climb.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if, because, you know, there are only a certain amount of them. Supervisor Parks has indicated that this would be kind of difficult to get it to go through.
But surprisingly, at the last meeting, we ended with she would go ahead and we would put on the agenda, and that we would start with looking at the Ojai overlay and as a non-coastal version, which was what we would be. And if we want to
Would be the
pursue
same,
it.
we'd have the same as Ojai, basically.
Yeah, actually, one correction from the last. There's one at the coast, but actually there's only one in Ojai. John Zaragoza at the time didn't want to limit the ability to having them on the coast. So the only place we have one in the county is in Ojai. So, and then also, we've also heard from the Sherwood community that they are in support of having the overlay over Lake Sherwood. So that might be something we would bring in unison, a request that both those areas also have the overlay. So that gives you a little bit more popularity,
They've
at
got
least
a
in
lot
my
of clout
district.
over in Lake Sherwood.
Yes, and so I don't, other than the cost of processing it, I don't know if there would be that much objection by the county, the Board of Supervisors. And I think that's what we would just have to look at is that how much that will cost.
Well,
Because it's basically staff time and hearings, you know.
so let's say we wanted to move forward on this. The kind of recommendation we would make is that we would be asking the county to consider a TRU overlay for the Santa Rosa Valley to restrict TRUs. I mean, we just ask them to move forward with it.
Yes, and so that's why it would be really important for you to read the one that we have in Ojai to see, because that would be duplicated. I don't think we'd, want to mess around too much. And it did allow for, I believe, if you are living in your house that you can, rent out, but you have to be there.
That's a different, that's got a different, I'm sorry, I have to pull up.
Yeah.
That's not called a TRU, that's called I'm sorry, I've got the paperwork somewhere, but it's called.
I've got it right here.
Yeah, I'm
But,
sorry.
but,
It's in my
but that's
computer.
how it would be applied with, essentially that would be applied the same way. And I don't know if the MAC has had an opportunity to read the Ojai one yet, but that would probably be your next move if you haven't.
I can pull it up on the screen. Is there if you want?
I don't think it's something you can just like look at, read and
No,
digest and discuss, but so I would,
Well, if there was a-
email it to them.
Yes, they have it.
We
But if
have
there
it.
was
I mean, I have gone through it. It's got a lot of legal verbiage in there. But I mean, the basic principle is something that I would support. So, and we can ask, it feels like we could be asking the county to investigate it and to consider putting a TRU restriction for Santa Rosa Valley. How specific do we need to be in our language?
I think one thing Linda's suggesting is, as each individual MAC member, if we're going to put this to a vote, I think we all should read it. And if we haven't, and I'll be the first to admit I haven't read through it, I really can't vote on it tonight to go forward with the idea that I support it. So that's my take right now.
I've read it. There's only one page, which is section 8109 4.652. For someone that does have a second dwelling, they have a permanent guest house. This says they cannot do home share or short-term rentals on those. And not the primary dwelling, but like, I don't know. That's the only thing, because I know like in your neighborhood, Mark, there was a house on Andalusia that had 2 guest houses that were used for, short-term rentals. I don't know how, and I don't think that is anymore because that owner is no longer there. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not looking for, like big party situations, but somebody who comes to stay that's a student or something, or the visiting nurses.
I think that's, I agree with you. I think in the situation where it's a home share, but it's not, but it's a separate, it's an ADU, I think that's okay. I think the issue is, the issue that we've had here is people buying houses and then they become party houses. And
right,
if somebody is living on the property, whether it's in the same building or a separate building, I think that is going to protect the community and the neighbors.
The problem is the way that this is being proposed. For us to have a chance, I think, through the county, we have to approve what's already written. Is that what I'm understanding from you, Linda?
Well, what I am suggesting to doing it that way because it has the least amount of issues, legal work, because this is a tried and true thing. But what I envision would happen after, if y'all decide this is what you want to do, would be I would go to the board and I would say, these 2 communities want to have it. We'd like to put them in line for having an overlay at the convenience of staff, essentially. And then it won't be as much of a concern to the board because we're not kicking out all these other programs and projects that staff is working on.
Well, I think, honestly, this versus nothing, I go with this the way it's written, because I think we need something to protect our community. I would have liked to make changes, but I think making changes will, kind of devastate our chances of getting it through. Because the county's approved this for another area.
Yes.
So, and we don't really have to get into the detail because I'm not like bringing up the ordinance and doing, the request to change, any of that yet, because, initiating the hearings, it would just be asking staff to put it on their list to do. And then, how staff goes about doing it, is maybe they will allow for some changes and all of that. But the first step is just getting it through the board to process it.
I'm going to suggest that as Supervisor Parks' time has a limit on it, maybe we move forward. with us.
I
I
do
expire.
And, you know, if Kevin wants to abstain, that's fine.
I
Well,
did
Can we
read
just
it.
do,
And
can we
again,
just
I
do
am,
a straw vote, you know, on, seems like Rosemary has indicated that she's supportive of it. What are the other two members of the MAC feel?
I would like to read it in detail again. It's been quite a while since I looked at it.
And we're looking at November, right? You know, the potential, you guys have another meeting in November. Then we have, I think, 3 meetings in December. And also, it may be that other supervisors have the same request in some of their areas. So it might just be, you know, we'll all pile on together.
well, that would be good. So I would love that.
Now, as I recall, in Ojai, they had to make quite a big sales pitch to get these restrictions. You know, that it would displace renters, it would displace the amount of housing. And so do we need that kind of level of push to get this through, or do you see something of more of an, it would be approved much easier than Ojai had to do for theirs?
You are very right in the sense that it was a tremendous battle. But I think that goes to the reason why they needed it so badly is because they were losing their housing stock and affordable housing stock, because it is a destination place between, you know, the arts and the tennis, you know, it just brought in lots of people from all over the country. So I don't know if the industry that does TRUs is very big in other areas in the county, like Sherwood, like Santa Rosa Valley. So it may not be that same level of, you know, a fight to get it through.
So truthfully, like Sherwood is mostly HOA, so their HOA would restrict the the short-term rentals.
Yes, but what we're having is there's sections that are not part of the HOA in the private section of Sherwood, and they are the ones that came to us. So we checked with the HOA and they were willing to and supportive of doing not only that community, but their community too.
Well, I love that. I love the fact that Sherwood would be with us.
Yeah, this is it's a big change from last time.
Yeah, so I think if Sherwood is in, I want to be on their timeline. Whenever they're going in, I want to go in.
Yeah, I retract what I said earlier. I mean, I'd vote for it too. To get in line, that's all.
Right.
Right. Okay. So
All
do you
right.
want to do?
Formal motion?
I'm gonna make a motion that the MAC makes a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to for analysis of a temporary or study of a temporary rental unit overlay to restrict temporary rental units in the Santa Rosa MAC.
No, this would actually be that you are supporting an overlay zone that prohibits TRUs.
Okay.
In Santa Rosa Valley, yes.
In Santa Rosa Valley. All right.
Okay, who would like to second that?
Denise, can you read out what the motion is?
Sure.
So we can get it?
That the MAC recommends to the Board of Supervisors, I just had, based on what Supervisor Park said, to add a temporary rental unit overlay to restrict temporary rental units in Santa Rosa Valley.
Perfect.
In
Who would like to
in Santa
second
Rosa
that?
Valley MAC boundaries.
MAC
I think,
boundaries.
'cause we can't make a recommendation about what happens in the West Valley.
Sure.
Okay. So
I
who would
second
like,
that. I'll
Michael
second
seconds it?
Okay. Okay. Amy Elliott. Yeah, this. Thank you. Mark Burley,
Aye.
Michael Adams,
Aye.
Vice Chair Cannon,
Aye.
and Chair Allison.
Aye.
Thank you.
We'll keep you apprised when we bring it to the board, so you'll be
Okay.
able to weigh in.
Thank you for all the additional information you brought to us. We were not aware of that.
Okay, council comments on issues not on the agenda.
I'll make
I
a
wanna-
little comment. Oh, go ahead, Michael.
Michael,
Okay, so as you know, I've been researching this whole issue where Santa Rosa Valley is right underneath the flight path for LAX. And so I did try to contact the FAA noise ombudsman, and but was not able to make contact. They said, we're not answering the phone and our voicemail box is full. So that's as far as I got with that. But I will continue working on it. I also do feel that there is an environmental issue here, because this summer we've had a lot of aircraft over and the hawks and owls have literally disappeared. And during the heat wave, LAX did change the flight path because they were bringing the planes in from the west. So the flight path moved west of Santa Rosa Valley, and then all of a sudden, hawks and owls came back into the area. Then a few days ago, they changed it back right over Santa Rosa Valley, and the hawks and owls were gone again. So I think it's a bigger issue than just noise, a noise nuisance for the residents of Santa Rosa Valley. I think there's an environmental aspect to this. The other thing I did, we got one of the lighted signs. This is just a minor thing. I've contacted my contact over at Public Works. The Yucca sign, the lens fell off. And then there is a road issue on East Las Posas where the pavement has kind of sunk down at the bridge just north of Santa Rosa Road. So I put in a request to see about having that repaired.
thank you.
Thank
That's all
you.
I've got today.
Okay, who's next? Mark?
As nobody else has brought it up, there were 2 members of the MAC who are up for re-election this year. And when the designated time to put your name in to do that, only those 2 members had applied. So my understanding, I'll just let you know, because you're all in suspense, it's me and Amy. My understanding is because of what we voted on, we will not be on the ballot, and so you won't see us on the November ballot.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jen?
On
Right.
issues not on the agenda, and actually it's a question for Linda Parks. I had heard at something that a deal has been struck with the Boeing facility to get it cleaned up.
Yeah, so yes, that occurred. The Department of Toxic Substance Control had some confidential meetings with Boeing, and they came up, the settlement agreement required the sign off of the water board, the Regional Water Quality Control Board. They had a hearing, which was the only public input allowed. And at that hearing, 99% of the people spoke opposing it because it left a lot more pollution on site than the current agreement that was signed back in 2010. But at any rate, it was approved by the water board. And so I think that pretty much opens the way for that agreement to be done with Boeing. The one part of the agreement that I like is that it told Boeing to clean their radiological contamination to background. And that's what we want to see for the other 2 polluters on the Santa Susana Field Lab site. Boeing's the private entity and they don't have much radiological waste, but NASA and DOE is where we had the partial core nuclear meltdown. And experimentations and stuff with radiological materials and waste. So we want to see that they clean up to background, and then that would actually be a substantial benefit, but there is no commitment on their part yet. And that's something that, you know, I'll certainly push, and we'll all push to see that they have the same cleanup standards as Boeing.
Yes, yes. I know Melissa Bumstead's family is close to mine, and so I definitely want to see that resolved.
Okay.
I thought it was pretty cool about the underground electrical wires going down to, I think it's up to the school. Is that correct?
Yes, that's my
Yes.
understanding.
Yeah.
Yes, we're
That-
hoping that's the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, certainly it is, you know, especially with all these trees, you know, those wires are a fire hazard, and hopefully, you know, and I love the fact that Southern California Edison did agree to do these, and with the cooperation of the county together.
And did it stop there because of funding?
Yes.
Got it.
I know a lot of people are asking on social media, you know, what are the chances of further lines being buried? Is there any new news on that?
When I ask, I get the that there isn't a chance. So, you know, that's kind of not news, but that's my understanding.
Oh, darn.
There was a certain fund available. They used it, and that was it.
Okay. All right.
I
Public
had-
comments. at
I
this
had one
point.
thing,
Oh,
I had one
I'm
thing.
sorry.
So Venice and I attended the Ventura County Wildfire Collaborative whoop-de-doo out at the airport. And I represented the Santa Rosa Valley MAC there. And what it is, it's a collaborative of all the fire safe councils and all the other, people, the fire department was there. Everybody is sort of under this umbrella. And they're actually kicking off. They want to go out and outreach to all the communities. So one of our tasks is to figure out what do we want them to present to us? Because they could present things like home hardening, or they, you know, I think we had a guy on the Zoom. I met again, his name is Gregory McHugh, and he established the Bell Canyon Fire Safe Council. And he would be willing to help us establish our own fire safe council. I don't have the bandwidth to lead that project yet, but and that's one of the big things. It's another whole, you know, MAC or committee meeting, if you will, of getting projects going and getting things to happen. But countywide, this collaborative wants to come and present to us what they're all about. And they did outline 6 projects that are going on that are going to be kicked off, that are all going to help Ventura County, you know, get their act together as far as everything from standardization of the home ignition zone assessments. Now, Rosemary, you mentioned the chips. Well, pretty soon you can't have anything within 5 feet of your house. I mean, that'll probably be in the new standard. But then chips can be, you know, another away from the house. It's not like you can't have them. Any rate, but that, I'm just throwing that out because that concerns me. I've got a lot of mulch around my house. Any rate, they're also talking about vulnerability mapping the areas that are most vulnerable, evacuation assessments of how we can evacuate. And they're going to update the county-wide community wildfire protection plan, which is kind of a big deal because each community could have their own protection plan, but they want to have this updated county-wide version. Any rate, it's something I'm going to track and try to at least, like when they want to come to our MAC, definitely work with them to figure out with you guys, what do we want to present, have them present. And if we want to start a fire safe council, how do we go about doing that? He's willing to help us do it. There is at the state level, there's a how to do that. And I haven't even been to the website to look at that. What are the steps to go through to establish one? One of the first ones is to create a nonprofit 501c. So that's all I wanted to report, that happened, and Venice was there and I was there, and they had good snacks.
The Oak Park community started a fire safe council, and they're going to be having a, would you call it a workshop, Venice? Do you have the
Town hall.
date for that? Town hall.
Yes,
And
October 6th.
that will be again at the community center in Oak Park. But the focus on that one will be on home hardening, more of the specifics on home hardening, but they've got a great list of speakers. It might be something that you might be interested in attending, and then also learn about their fire safe council. They are, they were able to latch onto the community foundation, which is a 501c3, and that's one of the requirements of being a fire safe council.
But
Quick question on that, just to add to that. There are some properties in the Santa Rosa Valley where the owners are completely absent, that are overgrown, just a ton of sagebrush, which is all drying in different stages of drying. And I've been told that, okay, yes, you can call the fire department. Are there any suggestions on how to try to get these absent tenants to maintain their property?
I'd definitely be calling the fire department. They have a man in charge of abatement, the whole abatement program in the county. All you need to do is get that department's attention on it, and they'll send somebody out there and they'll contact the owner. And if he doesn't clean it up, they'll be cleaning it up and charging him, putting a lien on the property.
So Kevin,
Yeah.
are we talking about 100 feet from the house?
Well, that's what I wanted. Amy, is it within a structure?
It would be the property that is east of the old tropical paradise. So 100 feet within a structure.
That's
Probably
the key. It has to be within 100 feet of a structure for them to get involved. But honestly, I think the county needs to reconsider, number one, those numbers, because when we look at the Woolsey fire and what happened with that, that wasn't significant enough. A lot of North Ranch caught on fire. And the other thing that we have, and it's because of the drought, we have trees that are going to be huge fire hazards, and they're not within 100 feet, but they are a detriment to the whole community. And they're not only going to affect our fire department and their ability to fight fires, but they're also going to affect our future in fire insurance costs. So I'd like to see some way for us as a community to try to identify some of the properties that need help with trees that are dead.
Well, there is that project of home ignition zone assessment, countywide, local community-driven initiatives used explicitly and meaningfully integrated. Well, basically, they're standardizing the rules, and they're going to change them. So they learn from that fire that the embers fly, so far and ignite other things. So I don't know what they're coming up with, but they are changing the rules about it. So that'll come down soon, I think.
And what's hard is, we spent $9,000 taking down dead trees. They're not cheap to remove, but they need to be removed.
Yeah, I bugged them about the dead palm trees near Tropical Paradise
Yes.
along the road. I'm like, those look like Roman candles when they go up, and why wouldn't they want those down?
Amen.
But the guy said they're not within the property owner's parcel or something like that. I'm like, really? I mean, come on.
Yeah. We did
They're
pass a
not-
law not too long ago to not allow for palm trees. Just like, I'm not exactly sure if it was, you can't plant them or, and then you're not allowed to have them have those thick dead leaves along the
Fronds.
stem. Yeah, you have to keep the trunk clear.
Yeah, it's unequal enforcement in some senses, is because
Amen. Yeah.
my neighbor has those, and the guy trimmed some of them and didn't trim them all, but the county passed her. And then those ones along the road, they're actually within 10 feet of the road. And you look on the back of your the thing notice, and it says anything within 10 feet of the road like that has to be taken care of. But his reasoning was different. It was like, but it's in the county right away or something. And the county's not going to do it. Something crazy.
But
Okay.
he wasn't
Kevin, can
in
I ask-
violation of a fire code. That was the issue.
Right.
The other thing about the clearance distance, it doesn't really help, as Supervisor Parks mentioned in another meeting, you change it from 100 feet to 200 feet because these embers are flying literally for miles. It's more to give a break zone for the firefighters to be in. It's not going to protect your house.
And the focus now is in that home hardening to make sure you have the screens over your vents that are the, small gauge, and that's probably one of the biggest things. We're looking at a fire or a building code change that will look to houses that are being built in high fire severity zones, and also looking at those that are having to get permits to have that opportunity to at least get that taken care of, the screens, but other improvements to ensure the house has less likelihood of getting sparks in it.
Yeah.
So Kevin, can I ask you a question based on you're going to this meeting? Because we already had somebody come to talk to us about having a fire safety council. And the issue seems to be that we don't have somebody who is willing to step up and run it or organize it, basically. And the truth is, it usually takes just one person to do that. So if we don't have that, is all of this them coming and talking to us going to mean very much?
Well, what I'd suggest is we have them talk about things that inspire us, not just blanket us with a bunch of information. So maybe specifically tell us in detail all the things that go into creating a fire safe council, period. Don't tell us about home hardening. So if we hear that, we maybe somebody won't be afraid to say, okay, I can do that. Or we have somebody online listening, like, I think Eric was on the line earlier. Anyway, somebody might be inspired to step up if they get the nuts and bolts of it's not.
And I don't want you to think that you have to have a fire safe council in order to have the benefits of being a fire safe council. For example, there's the Ventura County Regional Fire Safe Council, and they'll cover your area for you, help you with getting your free chipper day, and you can work with them and they will come to you. So I don't think you need to have a fire safe council in order to get the benefits.
What about reaching out to some of the people that had applied in the last election to be part of the MAC? There were people that were willing to serve in addition to the Ventura Fire Safe Council. But I think that might, because truthfully, we haven't, advertised for it at all. It'd be great to find someone who's like a retired fireman or something in our area. To work in conjunction with Kevin.
Yeah, no, and the cherry on the topping would be getting a fire community safe designation that might lower our insurance premiums. So that'd be the ultimate goal. That's why I would like, if we see the whole steps, because I think you'd have to have a fire safe council to be able to pull that one off. Maybe not, but there's a lot of things.
There's a guy who lives in my neighborhood. His name is Ken Bemis. And I know that he had applied to be on the MAC, and he's retired, and he's just he's really great. And I think maybe he'd be someone. The other one who I'd love, but I don't think he'd be willing to do it, just retired from the fire department, Ed Spafford. I don't know if you guys know of anybody else to reach out to.
Well, it's getting late, so let's try to reach out.
All right. So public comments. Do you have any public who'd like to make comments?
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. Written communications. Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
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 Terry.
Thing to go. Anyways, I'm Terry Harville Road. And first I wanted to thank Linda Parks for the parole cleanup on Santa Rosa Road. I drove down there a couple of times when it was happening, and it really made a big difference. I was surprised how many bags of trash was actually piled on the sides of the road. Also the Santa Rosa Valley Park, when I used to run the 4-H, we used to have our monthly meetings at the Santa Rosa Park. The parking lot definitely needs to stay that same size if you're gonna have any kind of events. And I think, you know, it was a little bit scary to rent the park because you had a lot of, I don't know, you had to get permission and, but we did pay for the insurance, yeah. But we did pay for the parking. I used to put a check in the little drop box for the parking. But I think if it was meant more, you know, made more friendly, people would use it more often. It's been a couple of years since I've done 4-H, but we used to bring, you know, sheep and horses and all kinds of things there. At the last meeting and what you guys talked about today, there was a couple topics that I had comments about. The dark sky overlay and the TRU overlay, which you already voted on. You know, I just think, you know, people should be talking to their neighbors. So there was a picture of a house that had lights on it that was after 10 p.m. and it was used as an example of lights that are up unnecessarily. And, you know, maybe that neighbor has a son that gets home from work at 11:30 and they want it to be bright, you know, for when their son drives up or daughter drives up to come back home. Maybe they were a victim of a home intrusion. You know, we just don't know. It'd be great if someone could just walk across the street and talk to their neighbor instead of, you know, taking pictures of the house. I don't know who it was or what the house was, but I'm just using that as an example of, you know, getting out and talking to your neighbors. The other one was the TRU, and I think Supervisor Parks said there were no complaints. Like there was no complaints about it. And Denise, I think, checked and said, yes, there were no complaints, but you're still going forward with doing an ordinance. Anyways, again, I think if there was an issue, walk across the street and talk to your neighbor. And
We do have, unfortunately, a situation on Priscilla that is, we do have a lot of complaints over.
Oh, I thought at the meeting it said there was no complaints.
They have to complain to law enforcement or code compliance and get it on record. So the last time I checked, there hadn't been any.
Yeah, and this particular problem has to do with a house that is being used as a temporary rental unit and event center. And the house is located on a shared driveway. And the other two homeowners have been very restricted.
Oh, well, again, I guess, and just doing a blanket thing over the whole area for one problem, to me, just seems, you know, let's talk to our neighbors and work it out. And then the survey I looked at, it looked like one of the things, well, to me, it seemed kind of maybe outdated, even though it was this last year. I guess my big thing is safety. I think people have really, in the last year, 18 months, safety has been a big issue, at least the people I talk to. And, you know, there's a kind of a gang element over there near Newberry Park. And there's a homeless groups starting right there on Olson Road near Moore Park Road. And safety seems like a better priority or a more urgent priority than a dark sky overlay or a TRU overlay. And those are just, you know, just my opinions. You know, of course, the power being shut off as well has been a big issue over the last couple of years as well. And we're about to head into power off mode here season. So anyways, those are my comments, and thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And thank you for joining us this evening. All right.
Hand raised, Jen.
Jen, where's Jen? Jen, go ahead. You need to unmute.
Aha, I think I did it. I just want to say thank you to Mark Burley. He's done a lot of work and actually all of you, for being on our MAC board and taking the time out of your day to
Well-
represent us and deal with our issues that we have here and the concerns that we have. And I just particularly tonight specifically for Mark Burley. Thanks.
He deserves
you.
it.
Whoop,
He
whoop.
deserves it.
You're here.
All right.
Wait a minute, that's the wrong thing.
Wait, what?
No, I guess I did do a clap hand. That's a clap
Yeah,
hand.
that's a clap.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
There.
Oh,
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Future agenda items.
I have a letter regarding funding for the Parks Department, a comment letter. And then I have your comment letter regarding the ADUs. And then, of course, I have the dark sky that was moved. And then also, Rosemary, you wanted to add something regarding residential treatment centers?
Oh, no, I just wanted to start providing residents the different options that they're out there. I mean, truthfully, I don't know it that well. I've just seen one, but like the rain gutter systems that go into rain barrels for utilizing water.
Okay,
But no, not, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
so then just the dark sky overlay as well.
Right.
Okay.
Okay,
Um,
Michael
I'm
Adams.
sorry, it sounded like Rosemary misheard what you said. You said residential treatment centers.
Yeah.
And she
Oh,
took out
okay.
Water.
Oh,
I'm
that was
sorry.
okay.
I was thinking of the water. My mind's still on water.
Okay.
Yes, residential treatment centers. Thank you.
Okay. And Michael?
I would like to see if we could have Rudy come back and tell us what their status is as far as adding insulation to the overhead lines and creating a situation where they don't have to turn off our underground electrical power. We're coming up on that 1-year anniversary of when the power was out on Thanksgiving for 17 hours. And I know-
I think Rudy's moved on, I believe,
has he?
but
Yeah.
also I think that question, if they can just answer that question, we can bring that to you too. So either way, if they
Yeah.
can't make it, if we can get a written response, that would be good.
Yeah, I
I
know
know that it was
we've-
explained to me before that some of the reasons why our power goes off though is because the lines that are farther away from us, the ones that we're not seeing on our residential streets are the ones they're shutting off, and they're shutting off whole sections.
Right, they're shutting off the lines feeding the underground wiring.
Correct.
Yeah.
So just adding underground near us is not going to help.
No, so it's coming from the Moore Park substation, and
Correct.
we need to put,
Yeah.
we're
Okay.
gonna put
Right.
insulation on those wires to raise the threshold at which the power would have to be shut off.
Denise, I
Yes.
think what Terry raised about safety. So in past years or whatever, we've gotten sort of a comprehensive safety report from, I think it was the sheriff's department, that like, what were the crime statistics for Santa Rosa Valley? So if we could, it may not be, they might not have them available for the next meeting, but they have crime statistics they track for our
I'll
area.
ask the sheriff to do it in their public safety report.
Okay.
Mhm.
But it's
Okay.
more of not just what happened last month, but what's happened over
Right.
the year. Okay,
Yeah, for like a year, like a big,
maybe we
Gotcha,
have it in
big-
January. I don't
yeah.
know. But,
okay, for the year. Okay.
Am I allowed to say one more thing?
Yes, Terry.
I'm just saying, thank you for the hand up. It would be great to see what safety reports there are in our neighboring communities, because there's just getting a dangerous element getting closer and closer to Santa Rosa Valley. So it'd be great to monitor that before it comes to Santa Rosa Valley. That I think, again, I think safety is a really big issue for today. My opinion.
Thank you. Okay, so we've hit future agenda items. I would like to memorialize and close the meeting in memory of the passing of Supervisor Carmen Ramirez. She was a dedicated person who we lost way too soon, and she in her 10 years of being the supervisor had worked so hard for our county. And I think that we should memorialize and commemorate the contributions she made and send our love and prayers to her family.
Here, here.
Here, here.
Totally agree.
Okay.
Thank you. Rosemary.
I know Oxnard definitely, she worked so hard for Oxnard prior to being on the supervisors. So anyway, is there anything else I forgot? So I can crawl back into bed.
Feel better.
Feel
Thank
better,
you.
Rosemary.
Yeah, I'm sorry you're not well. Get
Yeah,
better
well,
soon.
Thanks.
Take it easy, you know,
Yeah.
take it easy.
Yes.
You have to officially adjourn before you get to crawl back in bed.
Okay, officially adjourned. Okay. All
right.
right. Okay,
Thank
bye-bye.
you, everybody.
Thank you,
Bye.
Supervisor Parks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.